project has been underway for many weeks now. In a matter of days, the last stained glass window will take its place in our sanctuary. Each one is truly a work of art and a marvel unto itself. And by design, each one also has a message to share with us. This window is called the Good Shepherd. Its inspiration comes from the 10th chapter of the Gospel of John, where we read, "I am the Good Shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep." Certainly, there are other scriptural references as well, which this window also calls to mind. The parable of the lost sheep, for instance, wherein we see the Good Shepherd searching for the one who was lost and rejoicing when that one was found and rescued. And of course, in the Old Testament, there is the 23rd Psalm. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." God and his people were bound together by a special bond. They had a covenant relationship. They were his flock under his care, and God was their protector and guide. Lesser known to most of us are the words from the 34th chapter of Ezekiel, where the prophet says, "For this is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself will search for my sheep and look after them. I will bring them out from the nations and gather them from the countries, and I will bring them into their own land." That is, however, something that Jesus would have known on that day when he got into an argument with the Pharisees. "Very truly, I tell you, Pharisees," so he said, "anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. They will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice." Jesus was, in fact, even then, in the process of separating the sheep from the goats. Those who followed him did so because they heard in him the voice of God, which they did not hear from the Pharisees. Moreover, Jesus differentiated himself from the Pharisees by saying, "I am the Good Shepherd." The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. A hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. Simply put, Jesus accused these Pharisees of not having the best interests of the sheep in mind, but having only their own best interests in mind. He knew how they loved religion, how they relished its rules for life, and the sense of order that their religion gave them. He knew that for them, religion was only this, and it was never about love for God or caring for the people. In contrast to them, Jesus was totally willing to do anything necessary for sake of his flock, up to and including laying down his life for them. That is what made him different. The welfare of people mattered more to him even than his own welfare, or the welfare of the temple, or the welfare of the nation. There is a reason why this was true, of course. It is, as the scholars like to say, ontological. A question of who Jesus is, and who Jesus is just happens to be identical with the subject of the 23rd Psalm. He is the shepherd. He has come to walk in the valley of the shadow of death, and to forever change it so that we might fear no evil. He is also, of course, the shepherd in Ezekiel's vision. He is here to gather from the four corners of the earth his flock. He is the one who will rescue them and care for them. "I lay down my life for the sheep," Jesus said, and then added, "I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also." I think this is a reference to how the church will grow later to include people from all over the world with many different customs and lifestyles. It was always a part of God's plan that Israel should be just the beginning, not the end of all that God intended. Others were always included in God's plan as well. "They too will listen to my voice," Jesus said, "and there shall be one flock and one shepherd." Just in case we are ever inclined to try to exclude some people from membership within the church, we need to know that we do not get to decide who is or is not part of the flock. God does that. Everyone who hears his voice and enters through the gateway that is faith in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior is welcome. They are part of his flock. And there is only one flock, no matter how often we may decide to split it into separate little human organizations. Just as there is only one Lord, there is only one shepherd of the flock, and all those who follow him belong. Each time we participate in Holy Communion, we acknowledge that the Spirit has made all of us truly one with Christ, one with each other, and one in ministry to all the world. We also remember that, as the Good Shepherd, Jesus did in fact lay his life down for the flock. As he said, "The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again." There are certainly hints of Easter morning there, but it is the words, "I lay it down of my own accord," that should ring loudly in our ears. Jesus willingly became the sacrificial lamb, offering himself up on our behalf so that we might live, and so that by his suffering and resurrection, we might gain life eternal. He did not run away, because after all, that is what some hired hand might do, but he was not some hired hand. He was the Good Shepherd instead. The welfare of his flock mattered to him, and the welfare of all those who have heard his voice and followed him still matters to Jesus today. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. So the psalmist said, to which Jesus added, "The Father knows me, and I know the Father." He voluntarily laid down his life for each and every one of us, and for the sake of the amazingly diverse flock of followers from different ethnic cultures and backgrounds and lifestyles that his church would become. God never had any intention of creating a flock of sheep that were all the same. He only ever intended that they all of us, might have the same shepherd. Listen to his voice and love one another. As one person said, we are all sheep folk. We may be very different from each other, but we all have the same shepherd. There is unity and also comfort from knowing that Jesus Christ, our Savior, gathers all of us together to learn and grow from our interaction with each other. We all look to the same teacher, and we all find comfort in his arms. Sir Henry Williams Baker was born in London in 1821. He was the son of a vice admiral, but chose, instead of any military life, to become a priest. He became the vicar of Monkland in Herefordshire in 1851. Over the course of his life, he wrote many hymns, some of which we know very well, like "Angels We Have Heard on High." At the end of his life, it is said that the words of one particular hymn that he had written gave him comfort, and they were among the last words that he ever uttered. "The King of love, my shepherd is, whose goodness faileth never. I nothing lack if I am his, and he is mine forever. Where streams of living water flow, my ransomed soul he leadeth, and where the verdant pastures grow, with food celestial feedeth. Perverse and foolish oft I strayed, but yet in love he sought me, and on his shoulder gently laid, and home rejoicing brought me. In death's dark vale I fear no ill, with thee, dear Lord, beside me, thy rod and staff my comfort still, and thy cross before to guide me. And so through all the length of days, thy goodness faileth never. Good Shepherd, may I sing thy praise within thy house forever." Be safe, and God bless you.